Promo code Amy.
I see my name in shining lights, yeah, a different city every night. Oh, I swear the world better prepare for when I'm a billionaire.
It's time to get down to business on the weekend's #1 business program. Known as the King of Networking, your host, Shalom Klein, has worked with thousands of entrepreneurs and created countless jobs. So, to success. Let's get down to business.
We are all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship and business. We talk a lot about business here. You're on with Get Down to Business, and I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Remember, you can always get on my website, shalomklein.com. That's where you can download podcasts and get a sneak peek of who's going to be next week on the show, all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. And while you're there, don't forget to follow me on Twitter, at Shalom Klein. It's going to be a jam-packed week of content and information you will not want to miss. It's a live show. You can call into the studio, 312-642-5600. And remember to check out our awesome sponsors, Tandem HR. They are our solution center for everything HR and compliance in your business. Very complicated subject. So check out their website, tandemhr.com, or give them a call, 630-928-0510. So first up on the program is Professor Suzanne Degges-White, the chair of the Department of Counseling, Adult, and Higher Education at Northern Illinois University. And so many people are making their New Year's resolutions and trying to find ways that they can be better. And I know, Suzanne, you have a lot of feedback on that and ways that people can make a better you in 2018. Suzanne Degges-White, thanks so much for joining us on Get Down to Business.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here with you.
Absolutely. So I know, Suzanne, you've been sharing, you and your department have been sharing a lot of information about how people can become more unplugged. Tell me a little bit of what you mean.
Well, we spend a lot of our time plugged into media. Here we are listening to the radio. People are probably also checking their investments, also checking the news, checking the weather, checking their cell phones. Maybe they're sitting down at the dinner table. These days, there are so many ways for us to plug into everything around us that we forget sometimes how to plug back in to the moment, plug into being present, and unplug from a lot of distractions that really slow us down in terms of progress.
It is indeed very, very tough, and I believe that the term that your team at Northern Illinois University have coined, it's a term called workplace telepressure. This urge to quickly respond to emails, texts, and voicemails, regardless of whatever else is happening or whether one is even at work. So in 2018, indeed, there is a lot of, as you say, workplace telepressure. What is the right balance? Do you believe that you have the recipe or the formula for success?
It's kind of funny. There have been a lot of studies done on telepressure and on cell phones and on technology checking. And in terms of emotional health, most people check their cell phones. They go online about 17 minutes a day on their cell phones alone. If you go, that sounds pretty standard, pretty normal, but if you edge up to close to an hour on your cell phone a day, chances are your emotional health is going to take a toll. Anxiety, stress, depression, all those will start to be a very real presence and potential for you when we spend that much time isolating ourselves from the world around us in the false hope of connecting and making a difference through technology. And
it sounds like those are things that actually lead one to become perhaps less productive, not more productive. I guess common theory would be that the more responsive you are, the better employee or the better of a business owner you might be. You're suggesting that perhaps that burnout may lead to a tough time at work, actually.
Absolutely. It's kind of funny because the news cycle used to be, every 24 hours we see the news come on, but now it's every minute we can keep up with things. And so we have this desire to multitask and do a million different things at once. But it turns out that the more things you're trying to multitask, the lower the accuracy of completing any one task. And the more you try to multitask, therefore, because you're less accurate, the less productive you are, and the more likely you are to make mistakes. We think about how technology has just lightning speed kept up, it's just mushroomed in the past 10 years. But unfortunately, human evolution can't keep up with how fast technology goes. And as much as we like to think our brains are amazingly responsive computers, there are limits to what our brains can do.
Suzanne,
and so
do you
more
believe
likely
it's
to fall behind through multitasking than to catch up or get ahead.
Suzanne, do you believe it's an addiction?
It is. Research studies have shown that it becomes a process addiction. Compulsive gambling, it's not like a substance that you're taking in that's changing your brain, but it's a process. Internet porn addiction is a process addiction, and this need to keep up with technology, kind of this technophilia. It becomes an addiction too. So there's this they're trying to see, is there truly an internet disorder? And at least behavior-wise, there is definitely an addictive component to technology.
What role do employers play in combating this addiction? How can company managers and business owners play a role in creating the right culture and the right environment so their employees can be productive and efficient? Yes, but at the same time have a successful work-life balance?
Well, for one thing, we need to make it. Americans take, I forgot what they lose billions of dollars in vacation time. Americans don't take vacations because we feel that if we take vacation away from work, which is a perk being given to us by work, that we're going to get behind. And so we've set up a culture where we feel like to stay competitive in the workplace, we have to be there every minute. And so employers need to find a way to ensure that work-life balance is valued. And whether your work-life balance is taking time off to walk your dog, to feed your child, whatever it might be, employers really do need to stress that value. And many employers have already brought in things like meditation training into the workplace, or they'll have break rooms where you think about fun things to do, ping pong tables, they'll have rec programs. And I think the more enculturated leisure time can become in the workplace, because we do want, most of us are driven to get ahead at work. I think the more that balance is a part of the culture of the workplace, the easier it will be for people to feel that they can lead a balanced life. I think breeding competition among employees we need to compete with ourselves, not feel like we're always competing with one another, because it turns teams you go from being a team-centered organization to a very individually focused collection of members, and less work gets done when people don't function as a team. So ensuring that competition isn't what the driving force. Having sales contests, sure, but not making the stakes so high that people are cutthroat and focused only on the prize is important.
We're chatting with Suzanne Degges-White, the chair and professor of counseling and counselor education at Northern Illinois University, talking about a truly fascinating study under the title of Workplace Telepressure. And Suzanne, I'm curious if you and your colleagues determined anything else from this truly remarkable study. I know you talked with a lot of individuals, a lot of companies. What were some of the other highlights of this research?
Well, it's important that we get. I think the important thing is to make sure you give yourself time to unplug. And there are even apps online that will turn your phone, some of the functions of your phone off, kind of like airplane mode for given times during the day. That we have to remind ourselves that the harder we try to compete with others, the less we lose our ability to keep an edge on growing our own skill set, because we begin to use others as our measure and not our own abilities as our measure. We need to be able to focus on the present moment, so we can focus on one customer or on one work assignment at a time and not feel like we've got to jump between things. It's interesting because the more that we learn to react to the buzzes, to the beeps, to the vibrations of our phone, we soon become inured to it. And so people can hear a fire alarm go off, but they're so caught up and so used to buzzing and alerts that they don't even respond. Their hearts don't even start pounding, that we begin to become desensitized to alerts in our world that we really need to stay sensitized to.
What an interesting week for that analogy with the news in Hawaii just yesterday. So, Suzanne, we are quickly running out of time, and I do want to make sure that people can find more about this study and so much other research that the team at Northern Illinois University is involved in. Suzanne, of course, thank you so much for joining us on the air. Where can people find out more online?
Well, the best thing to do is go to www.niu.edu, and in the search bar, type in telepressure, and you'll get to the study and the team of researchers who put together this study for us.
Well, really, really appreciate it. And I do hope that our listeners will look up that study because as we are still in January of 2018, I think it's still fair to say that it's still time to make those New Year's resolutions. And nobody's telling you to drop your devices, your telephones. Just make better choices. So Suzanne Degges-White, thank you so much for joining us on Get Down to Business.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a wonderful week.
All right, thank you. And coming up after the break, we're going to talk a lot more about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. You're listening to Get Down to Business. You can always get on my website, shalomklein.com, where you get a sneak peek of who's going to be on next week. We'll be right back after this very quick break on Get Down to Business.
How can you get from